You know,
There's a sign up front.
I hate that lane February snow to walk in. That all of a sudden we always get a foot, 2 foot of snow. Like this.
Used to go to that big show sometimes. The second week in November, the biggest one in the country. They bus you in.
Really?
Anyway.
Isn't there one that's coming weekend in Harrison?
It starts.
Yeah, right.
Starts Saturday. It goes up. It's a whole week.
Yeah, that's coming. That's this weekend, right?
Yeah, it starts this weekend.
Yeah, a friend of mine's got a room. He says if you want to come down, stay overnight.
Yeah, I stay in Hamburg by the beach.
Yeah,
I just drive
coming
up
up
there.
this fall.
Yeah, but I'll go next week. I'm off. But what? It's 1,000 outfitters.
A couple of kids.
Really?
It's huge.
Just going.
The whole section for archery. The whole section.
Really?
It's huge.
Jumping right
What's
back
in the Yankee class?
This
Over in Essex Junction.
Yeah.
Because I never had weekends much. So it's new to me. So I went to that and then I turned right around. The next day we drove to Marlboro to do the fly fishing show. Which was good, but I can't spend a day there. You know, I spent 4 or 5 hours.
I mean, those are all.
It's a long.
I'll put it on my list.
Yeah, it's on. I told Kirsten.
Put that on.
Stay out at like college.
Wow.
It's that big. 7 or 8 days.
Just cut the hands. I'll put that up. I got buddies that go. So
Yeah.
I'll put it on.
Really good speakers and stuff. Speakers every day.
I think mechanics lose touch.
Like I said, it's full archery. Just big indoor full archery competition.
Wow.
Pick a couple later.
Because apparently when he gets
I love
dressed,
it.
President was there actually. He came in.
Really?
Talking to us.
Trying to straighten it out.
yeah, get it out of there. Not just,
Not as big as his kid.
Oh,
Yeah, young now.
yeah, that's huge. It's happened over at school there.
Big outdoors.
They're going to go to root cause.
Like
Okay,
really unbelievable. You wouldn't expect it for
how would they treated these
for them, but he is huge.
What are we doing?
You get some snow out there in the Cape?
Yeah, 20 plus.
Did you?
Yeah. They don't plow anything, you know. So
It just melts.
it looks like you live in Siberia on a road, you know. Usually you get a little that melts right away, but it's still hanging in.
Yeah, it looked like you got them storms that came right up the coast.
Nothing on the nor'easter, though. It was just wind and cold. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty
No power outages this time, so it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of coastal.
Was it? I heard from my friends on Nantucket.
Yeah, they probably had some good waves. We had that fishing boat, huh? Just like the perfect storm. Same deal.
Lost them all, right?
What's that?
Lost everybody.
Yeah.
Ice is a scary thing on a boat.
But you notice it was the time of morning, it was like 6:30, 6:45, and the boat sank out. I haven't read it all yet.
What's
The captain actually said something, but I don't think.
It's the, there's an alert that when it hits the water,
Yeah.
sends off this way.
Oh, yeah.
So who knows, was it icing up all night, and the person on watch?
Sure. It doesn't take long.
Those are all steel hulls, you know.
You're out there with
Ever make
huge sledgehammers trying to smash it off. Non-stop.
Just the timing of that, who knows yet? Just,
One thing I was going to
hey,
tell
were they aware that it's happening?
Well, they were trying to get back in. Something was
Well,
broken.
I think they had something else wrong.
Fishing, something on their fishing side was broken, so they're trying to come back.
we're not associated with
Poor woman there, she just graduated college, she was like a federal observer, she was on the boat.
is going
Yeah,
to
because
the
you went to school at
system,
UVM, I think.
and it's going over a building that's not being monitored as far as fire protection.
Well, that's been a hard winter for them, because there's been so much cold.
Right.
So they're probably
This isn't really
the whole profit issue.
Kirsten and Parker, it's really nice to finally meet you in person.
Sure.
We met by Zoom my last
Big hard time looking at.
Jeff Temple, sorry, sir, good to see you again. A long time. How are you?
How you doing?
Trying to investigate things like that when it's for.
We have a quorum. Yeah.
Some of those guys didn't want to.
Unfortunately, yeah, well, the shop is on Zoom.
He's a very experienced captain.
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
They think they had some report that they were. Oh, I saw something today that maybe.
Oh, yeah.
No, so you don't know what to trust.
It was a.
You could bring anybody.
There were snacks.
You
were what?
When I was younger in high school, I was in the Coast Guard.
Oh, you were? Oh, really? Oh, my gosh.
I've already had a few more.
Are there like heated decks?
There wasn't one of it. I don't think there's anything like that. Just guys kind of climbing them.
That can be hurt.
Stuff off.
Parker, did you get your tickets there?
Well, I
Do that 4 years?
Pretty funny mix up.
I know, you try not to. You get me off the invite list and I just show up like a bad penny.
I know.
You guys still going?
No, we're done. You can, your computer, you can plug in right here.
Kurt, thanks.
Thank you. Well, you bet.
Camera is.
You guys still
on.
there?
Okay, I'm like,
Your camera is on.
Our company.
It's really impossible to get everyone on.
What that sun's gonna do.
Oh, I've got a nice draft right here from the window.
Yeah, a lot of these walls aren't thick. They were repairing one on the front here a couple of weeks ago. There's hardly anything, you know.
Great permit administrator from the Forest Service. He's phenomenal.
It was built a while ago, so it just had the bad insulation.
Try to be complimentary, less confrontational.
Did you learn anything?
Oh, you're talking to them. Yeah, I was wondering how the class went.
It was great. The round table?
Yeah.
One permit area.
No, we're done. Yeah, we just go over. Dirk was just here, so.
He's just using the restroom.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that worked good for us.
Easy drive down.
It's a good day for us. Hopefully it's
Getting over right now, or?
right at the end of this.
No, no, it's not.
So technologically savvy?
Don't care,
The HDMI, I've got to go do a bunch of HDMI. This is the camera.
Yeah.
This would be
He
sound.
had a whole
speaker.
mindset.
I'll be back after I do the
Not like
intro.
the usual.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know Peter's been driving that by. Challenge me. There's a common sense here, and then, the steel, something that doesn't fit the chair around, and they're gonna have to figure it out. Yeah, little guys, just the chair manufacturers can't figure it out for everyone. That was really good. I mean, for once, it
Yeah,
just sounded
it's
like
a place where you really gotta stop.
Differently.
Finally get rolling.
Get moving into
He just kept using the word compromise.
Yup,
You can figure this out.
calm and ice.
Yeah.
So it was good.
You're gonna be at California.
Is that what was installed? Oh, really? Why did I think it was in Florida?
Because it's always in Canada. I'm pretty sure it's in Carlsbad.
Yeah, I'll definitely go to this one. It's my last TSP. But, oh, really? Is it?
I'm pretty sure it's
Or is that the next
I'll
one?
take you up and show you the mountain, and I said, yeah, I can see the three.
God, I better check.
The other two on the other side.
I was thinking, it'd be nice that Florida flight. It'd be so much easier.
Yeah, I would rather go.
No matter what you do, it's all day. Carlsbad, it's not near. Where would you fly?
Off-road sleeves.
I haven't even looked at it.
Definitely a connecting flight, right?
Yeah, oh, sure.
One more last thing.
I know, let's go with the one out in Texas.
I only know from Facebook.
Yeah. That was a nice spot though, wasn't it? I mean,
It was a nice spot.
I didn't get into the golf on there, but it was nice. Yeah. So expensive.
It was a really big.
He's independent. I feel guilty.
Yeah.
And then are you conducting the meeting or was that?
It wasn't obviously not on the agenda anywhere. Everybody knew
Tech guy or
So he said he'd be back. He said plug both of those HDMI's in, and that'll get you your camera and your video. If you want the speaker, plug in that into your audio port.
He has to do an introduction to some other event that probably starts at 3.
You want me to do that?
Jump in.
It's state government equipment. I'm a little bit nervous about it.
Loudest.
You the AV? You the AV guy?
Sure. Got a HDMI all the way over here.
Yeah.
Wireless right now?
You would think, huh?
Yeah.
That's
Oh, the other good thing maybe,
There you go.
They found this whole
and it's HDMI.
They started back in the early 2000s for reviewing old books.
Oh.
The engineers,
Thank you.
Yeah.
because they just don't want to sign.
I thought I just thought the computer was sitting here. I was like, this would be a nice safe spot.
CD, you know, we didn't look at it, we looked at the it looked like kind of moved.
Yeah. I've seen that before.
Yeah, I forget what it's called. He was
Yeah.
gonna send it out to the community.
Mike said you wanted to see the table.
We do have plenty of chairs. If anybody would like to join us, feel free. So we have one member that's joining virtually to just get the team moving going and then we'll start.
Oh, Scott isn't going to be here. I still have not met him.
Oh.
Yeah. Almost warrants a trip up to Stowe
I was
just
just
for
going to say
that.
that. So, for the
Yeah,
resort.
Site visit.
Yeah.
Site visit in March.
We have to do Stowe next time.
The March meeting. Maybe one.
We'll turn to section.
The spring meeting.
Sure, what do you need now?
Steam.
You're gonna click the Wi-Fi down here on the bottom right.
Or early.
Yes, Scott says he's waiting.
I'd pick anyone that isn't locked, see what happens.
Should be the,
Somebody
the
at the
beast,
spa.
shouldn't it? Isn't it the beast?
Huh?
Isn't that the Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Beast is the beast is the password?
Beast,
No,
yes.
you shouldn't like beast.
Beast free Wi-Fi.
And we monitor everything and track it here.
Yeah. You might get some spam. Offers for season passes.
You might need to go to your desktop, just the desktop. Right click on the desktop. Go to display settings.
Have you been through this?
I have.
Yeah. Can you help me out?
Absolutely. Minimize that.
Scott this year with IT chief.
Minimize that. Keep going until we get to the bottom. We're going to talk about your open windows again later. Goodness. There we go.
All right.
Right click on that one. Just the base there. This is funny where
Just push him out of the chair.
I'll put my glasses on unless you can see where it says display settings. Right there. Yep, hit that. OT displays right here. Super helpful.
Mr. IT there.
Roll down.
You got a future there, John.
It's good to finally have a skill, huh?
What are you doing? Detect. We don't see.
Let's see if it works.
Try that.
True. Good boy.
Voila. Progress. All right. Now minimize that. Let's get this thing going.
Make sure all your confidential emails are closed. Alright.
Turn on camera, upper right. Oh, yeah. You might need to pull that down and pick the one that's in the room. One would do that like this.
Parker, would you mind shutting the door? If it gets too hot in here, we'll reopen it, but.
Is that locked?
Someone there should
Locked.
come in.
I've already turned the
Hopefully they know they
temperature
can just walk in.
Yeah, the door says it's locked.
Oh, it's locked? Okay, alright, never mind. Just kidding.
Can something be propped?
They just can't get in.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
I think we
No,
had, there
it's
was a
not.
prop there, we had it in earlier.
That's true.
Well, we go no camera. Scott doesn't want to see us anyway.
But let's see if people can hear us.
Yes.
Scott or Chris, are you able to come off mute and tell us if you can hear us? Okay, it looks like you guys can hear us, but we can't hear you, so hold on one moment. Okay, will you say something else?
We are here. Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you guys. We are having just some difficulty with getting the room to show with our IT setup, so you're going to get to enjoy this beautiful view of the mountain that Dirk has up appropriately
Okay.
for the meeting.
We could almost see someone popping through the mountain scenery.
I think that'll be Dirk.
Probably want.
Or you can turn your camera off too, Dirk, one or the other, but so we can hear you. Alright, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good afternoon, everybody. It is 3:07 on February 3rd. This is the Passenger Tramway Board meeting. Hopefully that is where you intend to be right now. If not, you're welcome, and it's going to be exciting. My name is Kendall Smith. I'm the Commissioner for the Vermont Department of Labor and Chair. What we'll do, especially if people can't fully see us, is we'll go around the room and we'll start by introducing the voting board members, but then if there's any other guests in the room that want to introduce themselves as well, feel free to do that. We'll go this direction. If you want to pass, just put up your hand, and you don't need to do that at this time if you're a non-voting member. So I'm going to start with Parker, and if you could just say your name and any affiliation and the role you play on the board.
Okay, absolutely, thank you. Yeah, Parker Reilly, public member, newly appointed, and this is my second meeting in a row.
Just 1 second, Parker. Dirk, are we recording? Thanks. I won't re-say everything, but if we could just start the recording, that would be great. We're recording, great. Okay, Kirsten.
Kirsten Erickson, mountain member, and I work at Killington.
Great. I'm going to go voting members first, and we'll come back around.
I'm Tom Buchanan. I'm a public member, and I work at Okemo in the wintertime as a ski and snowboard instructor. I've been on the board since 2023.
And then Scott, that leaves you virtually in terms of formal members.
Scott Reeves, industry rep, been on the board a long time.
Great, thank you. So now others in the room.
Rob Smith, State Inspector. Jeff Temple, Director of Planning, Killington, Pico.
Casey Jennings.
Mike Reynolds, State of Vermont.
Dirk Anderson, Passenger Tramway Safety Director, Vermont Department of Labor, and IT whiz.
Molly Maharski, Vermont.
John Hammond, Sugar Bush Resort.
Jeff Hamill, U.S. Fire Service.
Anybody on the screen? Chris, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Winters. I am the still relatively new Deputy Commissioner for the Department of Labor. I've just completed, I think, my 4th month on the job, and this is my first Tramway Board meeting, so I'm excited to be here.
Peter. Alicia. Dirk, is there anyone else on the computer?
Alicia, Peter,
Okay,
Molly.
that's all of us.
Peter Landsman, I live blog and I work at Jackson Hole.
All right, thank you. So now that we've done that, the next thing on our agenda, and this is posted online, who anyone that's following along virtually can look at, is approval of the meeting minutes from our August 28th, 2025 meeting. There is a proposed addition to the draft minutes. So why don't we go there first? And Tom, I believe these were primarily your edits. And if anyone wants a copy of this, I see some people have it out. But if you want to walk through the changes verbally.
Sure. There were a couple things that we talked about that were not included in the minutes that are important because they triggered further follow-up today. So I want to make sure those are in the minutes. I took detailed notes and then went back and watched the video to make sure I was getting this all right. The first one has to do with legacy concrete. So we talked about that at the last meeting, and we're going to bring that up again now. And the second one has to do with a list of all existing variances and what the background of that was. And again, we decided we would follow up here now. So those are the two. They are online, and I think board members have them here.
And on the screen.
Oh, good.
If folks are comfortable with this, I would welcome a motion to accept these amendments, and then we will formally vote on the minutes. I will make a motion to accept these. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. They are amended. And now, go ahead.
I didn't hear Scott.
Scott, are you with us? And are you comfortable with these amendments?
Aye.
Great. Thank you. Great. Now I would welcome a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
I'll move.
Thank you, Tom. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you, Scott. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. The minutes are done and will be reposted as final. So the next thing on our agenda was a continued discussion of concrete integrity of older lifts. And I know, Mike, you've been doing some work, some research, some continued thinking, so I'll pass it over to you.
Okay. I think what we'll start with first is kind of go through what we do, part of our inspections, what we're looking for before we get into some of the different things. So I got some different pictures of what we see out in the field. I'll just start passing some of these around. Cracks, so, we deal with that. I think all three of us had ski areas this year that we had to deal with the cracks. We hired an engineering firm and come up with a fix for that. One of the biggest problems we have in this state is some of the ski areas, the steel is protected by like pine trees and stuff. They're shaded, so it creates that moss. And moss is like probably the worst thing because it holds moisture. So, and I've seen steel just dissolve because of moss before. So, there's some different things we see, But like I say, so we're after ski areas all the time to clean them, mostly in the spring, trying to keep the water out. This is just, usually when we're ripping out a lift, we'll take pictures of some of the old concrete just so we kind of see what's going on. That's one version of a poured. Another version is they actually use a culvert pipe, and the tower goes inside. It's like a Borvik lift, has a lot of them like that. So they just put that in the ground and put the tube in there and fill it with concrete. So that's just another way that towers have been, poured here in Vermont and probably in many places.
How are they seeming when you get to like the old foundations that you're digging up from an old lift?
Some of them are pretty good. Some of them we've actually found bolts, anchor bolts snapped off that you would never know.
Oh.
So,
yep.
We've seen that. So we're kind of, when the people are tearing them out, kind of trying to get there to be able to see them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So here's a new foundation, so that's kind of what they should look like when we're done pouring them.
That one's pretty.
Yeah. Here's just the form. Basically, both manufacturers, Doppelmayr and Palma, now we do spread footers, which is, you can see right there, it's a spread, and then the column or chimney comes off of it. I think that's common practice with both manufacturers now. I know in the past when I was designing lifts and stuff, I had to ask for that. So now it's pretty much a common practice. This is what happens when a tower goes out of alignment. This is at Bromley, the tower, we came in to do an inspection, we look up the line and the tower's tipped, So this is a fix that the engineer designed, basically boring into the existing foundation and putting the rebar in there, and then actually pouring cement on the side, pull it back, and then just put it back in place, in alignment. So
Why does it slip?
Water underneath. This time, we've had snowmaking pipes, they've been leaking for 100 years, and all of a sudden, like this time of year, when it's cold, we'll move them. We're not pretty sure that was kind of just the water got into the side of the tower and just tipped it. But, we noticed it, and, that was the fix from an engineering firm.
So how deep does that go?
That one was only probably 5 feet. Most of them are, not that deep, And that's a riblet tower too, so there's not much to them. They're actually poured into the concrete. So, lucky enough that lift's coming out this year. So,
Which one is that?
lift 2 at Bromley. There's the riblet. One thing that's done and not done much anymore is rock anchors. That's where we actually adhere right to the rocks. There's a whole procedure. Instead of just blasting out and doing the spread footer, they'll drill down and put these rock anchors in. I think I got pictures of them, like they're drilling. And then they're actually torque tested. The new ones are torque tested, so they don't pull out. And then actually, once it's torque tested, they actually fill the middle up with a grout. There's a whole procedure that's pumping that in. Pretty much you got to ask for that anymore. I mean, Doppelmayr and Palma pretty much want to blast it out. They'd rather just bring in a hydraulic pecker and get rid of it, or dynamite. So we've seen both. But this is Middlebury. I think that's probably the last one we did. I think the rock anchors. I don't think we've done.
Mid-station at Mad River.
Mad River.
That was Skytrack.
That was Skytrack, yeah.
They'll still.
So that's just some of the things we do, just looking at foundations and stuff. That's just, part of it. When we find cracks, we hire an engineer. We'll require the skier to hire an engineering firm to come up with a fix. And like I say, I think Rob, you had one, I had one, and Mike had one this year. Ski area said we had to deal with to actually have the foundations fixed, cracks fixed. So it's pretty common. Any questions on that? That's just, like I say, moss is the big thing. It's just trying to keep these foundations clean, 'Cause like I say, I've seen steel just dissolved, because of the moss. It just holds that moisture and it wrecks the steel. So some of the ski areas that are in, their top terminals are in pine trees. They're all shaded all the time. It's where we have to be after them to keep it clean. Springtime, making sure the water isn't running into the foundation. Curtain drains around it. So that's a big thing. So, any other questions on any of that?
With water being a contributing factor to integrity with all of the rain we've gotten over the last 2 summers, did you see any more, whether it's moss or tilted
No more, we haven't had
holes
any,
or-
haven't had any tip-in. I don't think we've had any in a while. Bromley actually had a whole terminal the one year. It was a double-double, and it actually moved the whole bottom terminal, but it was like in the springtime, you know, it got water in and then it froze and it actually heaved it. So we, you know, had to redesign that, but I don't think we've had any towers in a while, so. But water is a big thing in the spring, you know, when we're getting that melt with all the, you know, the snow making that is just keeping it away from the foundations. And then during the summer too, you know, with the ski areas running, and we, you know, we're on the mountain quite a bit, is making sure they're cutting the brush. You know, all of a sudden there's all kinds of grass and junk around the towers that the foundation's kept clean. So it's required by code. Was it 6 inches above grade, 6 or 8? That it's just supposed to be sticking up above the dirt. So.
Thank you for pulling these photos and
Yep.
showing us. That was helpful to see. We should make sure these are scanned and put with the minutes or the meeting materials
Yeah, you can
for next week.
So that's one thing we do quite a bit of, you know, in our filing. Is have, you know, I have 30 skiers in there, and then I'll break it down like, okay, Mad River, we put in a mid-stage, so we'll have all the pictures that go into the files too. So, you know, something we've been doing since I started there. So it's taking a lot of photos. So we actually have that on file, which was, you know, it wasn't part of it, you know, a long time ago. So, but it's nice to be able to go back. I can just go back into the file and pull this stuff up now. So. Okay, we were talking about legacy cement. Basically, is just, you know, it's old concrete, and the two codes, the ACI, the 21 and 22, are just ways to test that concrete. You know, so. Talking to a couple of the different firms that do that for a living, it's pretty involved. It's actually like a 6-inch hole that they put into the foundation, and then there's 2 ways to test. They do a crush test, and then there's another test that's done, talks about that in the procedure with a microscope. So it just, you know, by that they can kind of tell what's going on. The real problem we have talking to some of these firms that do this is we don't have no data on these old foundations. We don't know what's in the ground for concrete. We don't know what the PSI is. Where the new stuff, I mean, there's one thing I started with the state is we have a third party testing all the concrete. We have 2 samples out of every truck. So a third party actually does all the testing for us now. So I have that data on every tower, every foundation, every terminal. So, you know, and that's only been going on for, what, 10 years or so. But we have a good handle on that when we're building new lifts. Because what it used to be, the construction crew would actually used to take their own samples. Well, they take the youngest guy on the team, and here, go take samples. You know, he doesn't know how to take them. They lose them. You know, they don't have them marked right. We don't know what towers it came from. Like now, we can actually look at the form when it comes back and say, oh, Tower 2's got a problem. You know, engineer, you know, you need to look at it and sign off on it or report. So, but we do a lot of that now, so and that's really helped. So the problem with testing like that, it's like $4 grand a foundation. That's roughly what it costs. I mean, if you do more, you know, it's probably a little bit cheaper. But we're, you know, I average about, I think we have like 1,300 foundations probably in this state right now, somewhere in there. You know, a lot of them are, what, 40, 50, 60 years old. The only recourse we have, like if the lift gets modified, we'll do a pull test on the tower, actually hook on and pull it and see if it moves. So that's something that can be done when we're modifying, you know, lifts, can be required. A lot of the engineering firms will require that. Actually hook onto the tower, pull it sideways and just see, you know, see how much it can come over, and then it will go back. You know, it's the foundation moving or whatever. So, now it's a tough one. Like I say, we have a lot of old foundations in the state. You know, not a lot of data, or probably hardly any data. We don't know what's in there for rebar. We don't know. Like now, we know what the strength is. You know, we're pouring like what 4,500 psi right now. Who knows? Back then, it was probably, you know, 3,000 or less. But
is there in testing a way to do sonar or any kind of?
Didn't sound like it. No, it's basically they want to bore right into the foundation so they can take that core and do their testing.
So I think sonar would at least tell us whether there's rebar and how much and how dense the concrete
Yeah, but
is.
the only way you're gonna test is the anchor bolts, that's the only thing sticking out. So we can ultrasound them, and that's only goes down and goes to an L. There's no, we don't know, the rebar, if it's not sticking out, you can't.
But if you shoot sonar into concrete, won't it give you an echo inside?
I don't think it goes very deep.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too.
You don't think
Yeah,
what?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think it goes very deep.
Cause, yeah, that's why the anchor bolts we can do, because you can hook right onto them and send the signal down, make sure it's not cracked or broken or
Even
whatever.
that only goes so deep.
It only goes to the L.
Yeah.
Can you do sonar to at least figure out how deep the foundations go?
That would be like LiDAR.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gotta be expensive. You can't. Extremely expensive.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's a problem we're into. It's just, you know, we don't have drawings and we don't know, you know, is it a 5-foot footer? Is it a round footer? You know, you see from the drawings, we got everything in the ground, everything you can imagine.
Since this is
It's okay, I just want to make sure voting members are okay if we include others. It's not a lot of public, so yes,
Yeah.
join the conversation.
I just, since this is a continuation, what problem are you trying to solve for? Just so I don't understand the background of
all right, should I
what you're
brief on
talking
where
about.
this came from?
Go ahead.
All right, so this all came from an anonymous phone call that I received back on July 6th from somebody who was concerned about a specific resort, and the most pressing concern was counterweight. So we started talking about that. There were counterweight issues with Doppelmayr. They issued a safety bulletin in 2019. Here in Vermont, we had 44 resorts, or 44 lifts that were affected. 6 had identified problems. I think they've all been engineered out. The particular counterweight that that person called me about has been addressed and fixed. It still leaves us with the question of what's happening underground with all this legacy concrete, and how do we assure the public that these lifts are safe, that the towers are safe? There was a station that slid off bedrock in Sunday River in 2016. We've seen lifts, towers shift and slide. I just heard about broken bolts on anchors. So the question is, how do we know what's underground, and we don't, and what do we do to identify what's underground and confirm for the public that these things are safe? So that's the background of the thing. Thank you.
What I am grappling with, though, is everything that I just heard from the tramway program about the current practices they're using to demonstrate safety so far without issue. And then as technology evolves, the sonar piece is totally logical. I'm saying I don't know what that technology looks like, if it exists, how much it costs.
Yeah, that's the thing, how you're gonna tell a ski area if they're not having a problem. I mean, I've talked to Doppelmayr and Palma, and they don't want you digging around these foundations. They're intact, they're fine, they've been there for 40 years. You start digging around them, I know Doppelmayr and Palma, talking to them, they'd rather, okay, if it's not moving, let's just leave it alone. I know it doesn't answer the question, but
And we don't allow digging near the towers.
Right.
No, I wouldn't want that to happen unless there's a problem that's been identified and need to go down.
Well, we end up digging next to towers with snowmaking and all kinds of stuff, so we actually monitor that pretty close too. Because, once you get within, 3 or 4 feet of a tower, we want it all compacted. I mean, so we have, we take care of all that kind of stuff. We monitor that, and ski areas call us when they're digging close to a foundation. We'll say yay or nay,
Harvey, did you want to?
Yeah, I can just share that I talked to Dave Bird with the National Skiers Association. Many of us know who he is. He's probably been there for almost 20 years. Lift tower safety is definitely within his wheelhouse, not as much as Mike Lane, who's just a dedicated person for that, but Dave's been around this issue for years, and I asked him about this situation of latent issue, subterranean, and he really confirmed what Mike said, I think really talked about at the last meeting is, and what you show with the pictures and what you observe in your inspections, it's sort of what you see is what you get.
Right.
If there's an issue, you see it's very apparent at the top, above ground.
Yeah, we can deal with it.
And then you address it, you deal with it, and he confirmed, and I mean, we get him on the record. He's presenting right now as we speak. So, but this has not been an issue in every other state across the country of all 26, the other 25 other ski states, and that has not come up. It's just, again, it's a classic, ANSI, a tramway panel inspection situation where they can see it and they address it above ground.
I just got back, I'm on the ANSI committee, and we spent a lot of time talking about older lifts, how we're going to deal with that in the future. We're trying to get something in this code that kind of addresses, okay, if you got a 30-year-old lift, you got to do this. If you got 40-year-old lift, you got to do this. But, we're, United States, we're kind of behind the 8 ball, and a lot of that, compared to like Canada and Europe, so we're trying to introduce some of that, how do we help these ski areas that have older lifts? Can we help them somehow? So that's part of what we were discussing in Utah last week, how we're going to deal with some of this. We need to jump on the bandwagon here and get going. We have a lot of old lifts in this country, not just Vermont.
I think that, so I'm happy to hear that the issue your constituent flagged or the anonymous phone call flagged for you. Sounds like it was resolved and looked at in terms of that particular lift.
Well, that particular part of that particular lift, yes.
Right. And I'm wondering now if the path forward is, now that we know this is, again, an area of interest. I know our tramway program, as technology, again, is evolving, practices evolving, can be looking out and listening for options as the whole country probably grapples with this. And like you said, there's maybe some best practices for Europe about things that we can be doing and introducing as they become available.
One thing we're looking at what Canada's doing for older lifts, so I think we're going to actually take some of their verbiage here and try to work with some of that, because they've had it, 10 years, 10, 12 years?
Yeah, since around 2000, so as part of the older lift subcommittee that Mike's talking about, I thought there was a lot of good progress in this last meetings because they've actually used the program, and it's interesting, just in Ontario, not the rest of Canada and the Z code and everything, but they're identifying critical components across older lifts. So I think it's really exciting that moving in that direction, it's going to help. It's probably going to include foundations all the way up through whatever critical components are. The hard part of that is getting engineers that will sign off on reviewing older lifts. That's going to be another big subject.
If I was an engineer, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, instead of having end-to-end, they're trying to define if there's a set list that everybody agrees on to help protect them with liability. So anyway, that's a whole other subject.
Do you feel like the ski areas are inspecting their foundations well and keeping track of that and taking care of it when there's a problem?
Yeah, we have to keep after them to cut the grass and keep them dry, that kind of thing. But overall, it's been really good. Like I say, when we find the problem, we make them address it. Hire an engineering firm or whatever they got to do to deal with it, and fix it, and be done with it, and go on to the next one. So everybody in Vermont's been really good. I mean, they know when we find something, we'll make them deal with it.
In the future meetings, I don't know if there'll be enough for next time, but maybe you guys could give us an update on this older lift subcommittee and what's going on in Canada as that conversation evolves.
Our next meeting is until May.
We'll be in May. What month are we in? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like to hear about other industries. Think about highways, buildings, parking garages, TV antennas that have pylon foundations.
Yeah, they're all different and all got their own engineering.
But we can get some best practices from them and understand what their issues are subsurface.
Well, we got the technology. I know how to test it, legacy concrete. It's just how you're gonna force the skiers to pay $4,000 a foundation.
I'm not interested in cutting out a 6-inch chunk from the function of the foundation either.
But that's reality. If you want to test it right and know, because we don't have the paperwork that backs up. We don't know what's in there for steel. We don't even know what the concrete is. Was it flown in or was it mixed on site?
With any entrepreneurial spirits in the room, the sonar technology seems like a real opportunity for anyone listening. I do not have the brain to make that happen personally, but identifying a market niche. In the interest
Hey,
of...
point of order real quick. I don't know where the microphone is, but I'm hearing Mike Nellis clear as a bell, and I'm not hearing really anybody else. So if we get to a point where the board has to vote on something, I'm not going to be able to make a good decision here.
Okay, we will, is this any better?
Is this any better?
Oh.
No, we lost you this time.
It's us, it's not you.
We're trying to replug something in. Hang on there.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Coming back in.
Scott, we moved the laptop to try and see what was going on, and we lost power or something. There it is. I don't think we're going to.
Scott, can you hear us?
No.
I can hear you.
All right.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. No, there's no vote here. So I'm going to give us any kind of concluding comments on this topic, if anyone has any. Otherwise, why don't we move towards an update on lift inspections, falls, injuries, and anticipated lift construction in 2026.
Sure. Okay. Back on the concrete, we'll keep looking at stuff as we go. I mean, we, learn a lot with technology as it goes, so it's, we're trying to stay in front of it, so. Okay, we'll just go back to summer, just, start there. We had 13 ski areas open during the summer and into the fall, and that's like 20 lifts. So, them 20 lifts get inspected just like they do for winter. So we do a summer inspection, they get a full inspection, and then they operate for the summer and fall, So a few of the ski areas only run, a couple weeks during the fall foliage, So winter inspections, this was a kind of interesting year because everybody was trying to open early. So just hats off to Rob and Mike. We had 194 lifts done before Christmas, that never happens. Usually we're in this time of year still inspecting lifts. So just hats off for everybody and getting them done. Getting everybody open. So we have 30 skiers. We have 29 skiers running right now. So just the inspections went really good. It's just trying to stay ahead of it. Plus we do dynamic testing, which dynamic testing is chairlift has to be inspected, a fully load test every 7 years. So we do that. So ski areas, a lot of them wait, and so we're doing that in the snow. And then acceptance test is basically the testing that's done on brand new lifts. So at Killington, we had the detachable here. That that usually takes 2 days of testing, 1 day electrical, 1 day mechanical. So we're doing all of that at the same time. They had a conveyor here too. Just you start at December, put in a conveyor and the snowmaking all in one shot, and starting December 1st. So, but yeah, so. And we're pretty much, I think we got every lift done now. I think we're at almost everything that's supposed to be open has been inspected, so which is ahead of schedule, and thanks to all the ski areas. So, just talk about construction. Like I say, Killington, had the D6. Sugarbush had a carpet. Killington had a carpet, and we did 3 or 4 modifications. Actually, pretty quiet year for construction. So that, I think you guys seen that in the FEDU. That really shows when there's only one chairlift, So construction for 2026 Hermitage Club, they already bought a detachable quad. That one's already in the works. I'm pretty sure that's going to start June 1st. They're moving along, just finishing up on the permits. Killington, they're getting a fixed grip quad to get rid of that Heron Palma next to K1 gondola, so it'd be good to get that one out of there. We've had a problem with that over the years, different problems, so it'd be good to get that lift out. So I think you guys are just finishing up on the permits for that, right?
Yes.
Hopefully that starts in summer. So right now 2 chairlifts. There'll probably be a couple carpets at least. I know Killington's looking at another one, Middlebury, so there's a few that are looking at conveyors too for this year. So. That's it for about for construction. So
what about Stratton? Are they doing Tamarack?
I don't think Altera's spending any money. I can tell you. John.
Spend a lot of money.
Yeah, wrong state. Though.
Yeah, UT, not VT.
Yeah, it doesn't, talking to them, you know, they'd love to have it done. I know John needs some lifts too, but I think it's gonna be on hold. Same with Vale. I don't think Vale's spending anything in the east, I don't believe. So, yeah, it'll be a quiet year. So, that's about it. Any questions on any of that? That's, like I say, it's just, we were able to get everybody open that needed to get open. It was, you know, we're doing really good so far, so.
It's impressive.
Yeah, so.
How are we doing falls from lifts?
Falls from lifts, we're at 3. Usually at the last couple of years at this time of year, we're over 10, getting through the holidays, so we're at 3 right now, but all 3 are at the return, lifting the
One was
restraint.
in the middle of the line.
The middle line, but lifting the restraint bar and the people go out. One was it, who got hurt? One of them had a wrist.
2 of them got deferred
Higher care.
thank you. And, but they weren't assumed to be serious at all. And we don't get a follow-up, so we don't know for sure.
So, you know, thanks to the skiers again, you know, we're moving signs, we're adding signs, or, you know, education. That was a big thing in, you know, at our meetings out in Utah, you know, with the restraint bar. That's a problem out west. You know, we've had it in Vermont since, what, the 60s. But, you know, out west, and the new code is basically all new lifts have to have restraint bars and modified lifts, but there's a lot of lifts out west that don't have restraint bars, and, you know, you know, my counterpart in Colorado's got his hands full trying to deal with that, so.
Are the injuries that you've had kids falling out while lifting the restraint?
2, no, it was actually there were 2 under 8, one was a 28-year-old. The 2 kids were actually somebody that was in the chair with them lifted the bar. One was a grandfather, wasn't paying attention to the grandson. He picked the bar up, and the grandson went out. And the other was his older brother lifted the bar up in the middle of the line. And the kid went out. And the other one was, she's leaning over to pull her skis out, sitting on her poles. He fell out.
It's just as a person that rides lifts all the time, it's a continuing frustration with me when people lift the bar early. And I try and keep it down, but it's a hard one to educate. People don't want to do that.
They don't.
And if that's the place where people are most likely to fall, it's way better if they do it inside the unload zone.
But yeah, I know, you know, NSA is trying to come up with a program to help, you know, educate the skiers, you know. I think it's up to the employees and ski schools and stuff, you know, and we've had a problem with the racing teams, you know, sitting on their poles that, you know, and the kids look up to them, you know, so that's been a problem. You know, they pull the poles out and the little guy just goes gone, you know, so, but it's an education thing, you know.
On a different note, I rode the Sugar Bush Magic Carpet with my children at Mount Ellen. It was awesome. It was so fun, so cool. Really enjoyed it.
What made it cool?
It's all, I don't know, maybe this is normal, but it's all enclosed.
Oh, they're
and
so
so
awesome.
it's like the tunnel kind of experience.
Yeah.
And that was really neat. And as somebody that is continuing to be more and more afraid of heights as I age, thinking about putting that lift bar up midway sounds terrifying.
If you leave your arm on it or keep your foot on the step, they can't lift it up, and then you can plead with them to please respect me. And most people will.
Oh, yeah. All right, thank you for that, Mike.
Yeah. Other injuries, Mike?
I get all the accident reports, and I think I've done 83 already, but that's lift breakdowns and guest accidents, so that's what we deal with. So we, you know, I get all them reports and file them per ski area and that, so.
How about employee accidents?
That's one thing we don't do. I mean, that's not part of our, that's workman's comp. You know.
I'm puzzled by that one because we did talk about that when we were doing rulemaking. So I proposed a rule specifically seeking reports on employee injuries, and as a board we recognized that those are included in all persons. which are the regular reports. So we should be getting these from employees.
Yeah, that's workman's comp. I mean, that's part of their world.
They should be reporting them to us too.
You guys got to decide that.
Well, the language is a serious injury is defined as one where rescue staff assesses the injured person, and that person is referred to a higher level of care. We talked about this during rulemaking. We agreed easily that person means employee as well, and that we should be getting these. At that point, I was concerned that we weren't getting any of these reports. I was told that we would correlate this with workers' comp, and we'd get a report from workers' comp saying how many employees and in what way they're being hurt.
Are we talking about an employee as a passenger or an employee as a lift operator?
Yes, and as a mechanic. Any injury that occurs on a lift should be reported to us.
Yeah, but on the lift as a passenger, as opposed to a mechanic, I don't see that we would be reporting a lift incident from a mechanic.
Well, it says tramway-related serious injury. That is tramway-related, and we should know about it. If we're trying to regulate for safety,
You're talking serious accidents. You're talking, we're not talking somebody just get hit by a chair and they're fine. You're talking extended care.
No, we're talking injured person is referred to a higher level
There you go.
of care.
That's right. That's somebody that's hurt and's got to go to the hospital.
Or to a doctor for follow-up care or anything like
right.
that.
So that's a workman's comp.
Well, Scott, you had your hand up. Did you want to say anything right now?
No, I think Mike's getting to the clarification. I mean, we've got to be very clear on this, and we have to stay within our guardrails of what we've been tasked to do here. So,
well, boy, this is something that I'm really strong about because the language is so clear. I definitely tried to change that language, and the board agreed that serious injury involves anybody on the lift within our space. So not outside the ramp zone, not setting up a maze, but anybody using the lift or operating that lift is covered by this rule. And they should be. If we're trying to regulate for safety, we need to have the data about how many people are being injured and how they're being injured. So I'm really concerned about this.
I apologize that this predates me a little bit as chair in my time at the department, but we can pull the rule for next meeting and take a look. And if it is, there's workers' comp. I'm looking at Dirk because that's one of his specialties as well. For us at the department, we can probably pull workers' comp data pretty easily and filter for a report, but I'm not sure, is that public? That's where that's not all public.
The nature of the injury
yep.
would potentially be public, not the identity
right.
of the individual. In our current legacy workers' comp database, and I think I mentioned this the last time we talked about this, Tom. It's been a while, so I don't want to misspeak, but I can't go into, we get tens of thousands of first reports of injury every year. I can't go into the system and run a report that says like ski area employee. It would have to be more labor intensive than that. Or, even ski area employees get injured all the time that aren't working on lifts or lift operators. That may be something that's easier to do when we modernize our system, which we're in the process of doing. But I can give that some thought, Commissioner.
Okay, and I want to look at the rule series. I apologize, this predates me, so unfortunately I don't have the verbiage to navigate that more easily at the moment.
I can read it if you want.
Or what, do you just have the year, or does anyone here when we do this update?
2023.
Okay.
It's the current rule.
Okay.
And it's pretty short.
Yep.
It's section 2.04 A and B are what matter to us.
Okay. Okay. We can take a look at that. There definitely is some nuance with it, again, crossing over into the workers' comp realm. We need to look at.
I just have one comment on that. This was one of the things we worked on in Nancy was defining, there were some manufacturer accidents and things, and when the operator, meaning the resort, is responsible. And I think even in the tram rules here in Vermont, there's a paragraph, is it in B, maybe, Kirsten, I'm not sure, but it speaks to that all the safety procedures and instructions, everything are the responsibility of the operator per VOSHA rules and everything, and which differentiates that from manufacturers or anybody else providing. So, I mean, if you got a list of what happened, but I mean, it was this board, I don't think, is regulating the safety of that. It's up to the operators to provide that per all the outstanding OSHA rules that are available now. Anyway, just a comment. Not saying well, that's just some.
Thank you. Anything else as it relates to inspections, injuries, or construction?
I'd like to follow up on this at the next meeting, because I think it's really important. I mean, it's clearly by rule within our wheelhouse and by the statute that establishes this.
We'll look at the rule and do some legalese. Okay.
I'll send you a note about what we talked about when the rule was rewritten.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. List variances.
So, Tom had asked that we compile a list of all existing variances that the board has granted. Mike and Nelia looked through what we could find. I believe we came up with 11, but I put them up on the website. What we talked about at the last meeting and what I'm still planning on doing, and I've been talking to Kendall about this, is we don't want to do it now in the middle of the season, but like in March, we'll send out a letter to all the areas saying, we've got a list of existing variances on our website. If you have a list that is still in operation that has been granted a variance that you are aware of that we do not know about, or because we don't have the institutional memory, please let us know about it. Please send us a copy, and we'll try and I'm going to build that website out a little better, Tom, and just have a section for variances instead of sticking it in with the agenda. But that is my intention. As far as that goes, we've seen in the past that people have come forward and said, Joe or Al or somebody who's no longer around told me I could do this. In the case of Smugs, they came up with a variance that we didn't have a record of. So that's what we're trying to do, and hopefully that will get us closer to that.
I'd like you to dig a lot deeper. I'm super glad to see the letters. I looked through them all last night. I actually got sucked in for several hours looking through these, and tried to correlate them with minutes. So I went back and looked at all the minutes that I had of meetings that I've attended, and a set of minutes that went back to 2017, I think. What I found was a lot of these letters don't correlate correctly to the minutes of the meeting in which they were approved. If there are conditions within the minutes that aren't reflected in the letter that we sent out, things like speeds, like using detention devices, limitations on this, things like that. So when I look back, I find a lot of discrepancies here. And when I look back at those minutes too, I find a lot of variances that have been issued that aren't reflected in the format of letters. So the next thing I would want you to look at is all the minutes. Okay. I'm trying to correlate all of that.
Well, I mean, I'm making an effort.
Oh, I know.
I have access to my predecessors' electronic databases, so I searched those for variances. Mike's looked for what he can find.
We got way back in our records.
So just last night I looked at the minutes that I have access to that were sent to me when I started on the board. There's a variance for McKenna, it's a private-owned area now. There's Killington variance to allow Brentor brand snow bikes. That would require the riders to have training and rent the bikes to Killington. That one is interesting because Mike, in that meeting, said there were 5 previous variances for things like bikes and snow skates. I've identified one of those, but there are still 4 that aren't listed anyplace here. Mount Snow requested a variance for snow skates. It isn't reflected here. Bolton Valley, Mike talked about at the meeting on 2/1/18 that Bolton Valley had the model program for all devices, and each device requires a sticker to avoid confusion. So Bolton is included in a variance list that isn't anyplace here. It goes on. So I'd ask you to look through all the variances you have access to, at the very least. One of the things I find when I do that is that a ski area has a variance for a particular thing, and there may be 3 or 4 different variances in different meetings for that thing. Magic Mountain and Mount Snow are 2 big ones for that. So it's hard to figure out what are the requirements and when were they issued. My thinking on all of this is that the rules should be clear, the ski areas should know what they can do, and the public should know what they can do. And right now, that's not the fact. That's not the way it's working. So I think it's really important that we have clear, consistent lists of all the variances that are currently valid.
And to that end, I will send a letter to the skier.
And that will be really, really helpful. And we'll follow up at our next meeting.
And so we weren't going to send anything out now because obviously we're in the thick of busy season. So we were talking about maybe sending this out in March and saying what variances you have, if you can send them to us by this summer, the next one in July, the August, so more from there. So we're moving right along. We have scheduling our next meeting and then other business and public comments. So for those voting board members, we would meet in about 3 months, yes, in May. Would be approximately our next meeting, beginning of May. Do folks have calendars before them or ability to look at calendars? All right. Let's see here. I have to get my own open. All right. So
Just before we start, I'm going to tell you right now, May 10th through the 24th, I am not in the state of Vermont.
okay.
Where are you going to be?
Going to be sitting in the sunny state of Florida, not thinking about the ski business.
Lovely.
Very good.
So if we look at the first week of May, week of May 4th, people have availability that week. We'll start big, then go small.
I'm all clear at this point.
Tuesday, May 5th, afternoon. How does that work for? Cinco de Mayo. That's too much. Let's pick a different day.
We roll
just in
into
case you guys
happy
have
hour.
Plans. I know. Sorry. Let's look at.
Start at 5.
Let's look at Thursday.
Nancy's Cinco de Mayo.
Thursday, May 7th.
That'd probably be better, unless somebody's staying for the whole show. But
Thursday, May 7th, or Friday the 8th. You have a preference?
Thursday's good for me.
Okay.
Good for that.
When's the national conference?
That's the week of the national conference.
3rd and 4th.
Okay.
well, that's the
Well,
ANSI
well,
meetings.
That's the answer.
Yeah, and then the national
Nationals
conference.
after that.
Yeah.
It's usually
Starts
3rd, 4th,
Monday
5th, and
before.
6th, usually at least
And
7th. Yeah.
And is that a full week?
Goes through
Most of it.
Yeah, most of the week.
travel and.
And then Scott's gone the week of you said the 11th through the 20th?
Which is the next 2 weeks. So.
Yeah.
24th, 2 weeks.
24th. All right. So let's look at the last week of May.
28th.
28th. Okay. I'm hearing some unanimous interest in the 28th. 28th
That works for
at 2.
Works for me.
All right. The 28th at 2. mark your calendars and we'll send out a hold as well.
Can we get that on the website as soon as possible?
Yes.
And also on the state calendar page, please?
All right. May 28th at 2 is the next meeting. All right. So I know we do have an interested member of the public here for other business and public comment. Casey, I believe, right behind me.
That's correct.
Casey, you are welcome to speak from there. If you'd like to come up to the table, you're welcome to join us. But
if everyone can hear me from here,
here, I'll turn it over.
that'll be good. So I have a few comments.
Scott, are you able to hear Casey?
I need Casey to speak.
Okay, maybe I'll sit a little closer.
Here, come closer.
I can't hear him if he's speaking right now.
Because that way you're projecting for.
Okay.
And Casey, just will you state your full name for the record?
Yep, my name is Casey Jennings, for the record. And I'm interested in this because I have worked for several seasons in the industry. And I submitted this at the national level, and I'm also submitting it here. And it'll probably find its way to the legislature at some point. But it's a proposal for a change. I also have some other comments not related to this, but I'll get to those. So the change I propose affects subclause 4.3.2.2, minimum operating personnel. Essentially, the change basically will require 2 attendants at each load station, 1 at each unload station, which is essentially the current status. It will allow an operator to serve as 1 of the attendants, not as both. And the purpose for this is, well, I submitted this, so I think everyone has seen it.
I'm trying to pull it up, Casey.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons behind this. So when I first started working as a lift operator, the standard practice was to have 2 at the bottom of a fixed grip lift. And that way you could rotate periodically to warm up, avoid repetitive motion injuries, and also very importantly for public safety, is there's a second set of eyes. Because the load process at a fixed grip lift requires you to be out pretty much in the thick of things, bumping the chairs, you're dealing with the crowd coming through the gates. It gets very hectic, very wild, because half the people coming up do not know how to properly load onto a lift, no matter how much you yell at them to do it. So the issue is some members of the industry want to go to 1 person at the bottom of the lift, which is allowed by the rules on a technicality. But it's very dangerous. For instance, I cited several examples that affect the public. I saw 1 passenger unseated. There were 2 lifts side by side where I was working. I was at one, someone else was at the other, 1 person at each. By dumb luck, a team lead happened to be coming over to offer a bathroom break to the other lift operator. And there was a passenger dangling from a chair about 6 feet up. I know it's about 6 feet up because it's over my head height. Never got reported. That was in December of 2024 at Okemo Mountain, the B quad and the A quad. That was at the A quad. The team lead got the guy off, and it was never reported. But the operator at the buttons never saw that. That person would have made it up to the tower, and it was all rocks at that point. So, at some point, luck will run out for the passengers that get into that situation. That was just one example. You could pull up others in the news. Out in Colorado, there was a $12 million lawsuit over a paralyzed kid. The lift operator there was also too distracted by what was going on to stop the lift. You could find many examples of this. Eventually something more serious is going to happen in this state. And then the other issues are for the operating personnel themselves. And it relates to public safety because we were not getting enough chances to warm up, not getting enough bathroom breaks, not getting lunch breaks last year. Policy has changed a little bit on that, so that situation has improved. But And then, you're out in the cold, so people were getting cold, so they're distracted by that. And if you're distracted, you're not going to be paying enough attention to what's going on around you. And that is why there were many, many examples last year. For instance, the B quad at Okemo. The snow piles up very rapidly in the LCA. It forms what we jokingly call the speed bump. Big bump of snow. If you're by yourself, you cannot shovel that out because the lift is running. That was pulling skiers off left and right last year, but they had one person there. And that was a situation at other lifts as well. And then some other issues. For instance, a personal example, I was hit in the head in December of 2025. Almost knocked unconscious, but wasn't. That was at the A quad, not reported, and to the board, obviously. If I had been alone and I'd been knocked out, there would have been me on the ground, knocked out, in the chair path, getting repeatedly hit by chairs. There would have been nobody at the controls to take care of safety of the guests riding the lift. And a situation like that actually happened at the Sunshine Quad at Okemo in March of 2023. A single operator broke his ankle and had to crawl across the ramp to the lift shack to call for help on the phone. So this is not like some theoretical issue. That has happened. And then you have nobody capable of running that lift. And getting to some other issues.
Can I just ask about the head injury that you had?
Yes.
In your notes, you said that you suffered a concussion.
Yes, I did.
Were you treated on scene, or how did that?
They watched me for about an hour at the ski patrol hut. I had a bad headache, but essentially I felt reasonably okay after about an hour.
Did they send you for follow-up care at all?
No, they did not.
Did you get hospital there?
I didn't because I was feeling okay, but in hindsight, I think I probably should have been checked out because that was full speed right at the side of my head, it dented my helmet, knocked the liner actually out of the helmet. There is actually video footage of that, very privately held at Okemo. I actually have not been able to see it myself. December of 2024 was another injury I actually suffered, a repetitive motion injury to my back because some of the quad chairs are extremely heavy. And as I said, I was not getting adequate breaks. Some of the team leads were great, some of them were not. That particular day, I actually requested a break from a team lead because I told her I was hurting. And she basically said she didn't want to talk about it and walked away. And I ended up hurting my back. I had to basically run the lift on slow to get people on because I could not bump the chairs. I ended up in physical therapy for quite a while. I've recovered okay. But there's a lot of issues here. And I want to also say that the ENC rules do provide for that, the resorts have to protect the safety of the workers. That does fall under this board to that extent. And I actually pulled up the statute on this tramway subject because I think the statute is relatively broadly worded here. Rules. This is under, let's see here, Title 31, Chapter 15. The declaration of policy, it shall be the policy of the state of Vermont to prevent unnecessary hazards in the operation of ski tows, lifts, and tramways to ensure that reasonable design and construction are used, yada, yada, yada. That does not narrowly define who the safety, issue is concerned with. That does not specifically say just public passengers paying to ride it.
So for anybody listening, this is the declaration of policy in the statute that creates the tramway board.
Yeah, and if you go further down to section 703, Passenger Tramway Board. There is hereby created the Passenger Tramway Board within the Department of Labor, yada, yada, yada. I'll go through all the appointive and this and that. And then following that was section 704, the rules. The board may, in accordance with with 3 VSA chapter 25, adopt reasonable rules relating to public safety in the construction, operation, maintenance, and inspection of passenger tramways. And I won't read the whole rest of that, but that's very broadly worded. That does not limit the tramway board to just regulating, public safety. But as I mentioned, if the operators are at the lift are not safe, the public is not safe either. It's just one follows the other. You have to have someone who's alert and in good shape to keep the public safe. In Vermont law, if it's not a necessary and inherent risk of skiing, it does fall under civil liability. So I will just say that the ski resorts are taking on huge liability risks, like that $12 million lawsuit that Vail just paid out in Colorado. If an injured guest can prove that it was because they had one person who could not run that lift safely by themselves. So that's on this subject.
Can I ask you you mentioned ANSI rules?
Yep.
Do you have a specific ANSI rule that covers that?
Which item I talked about?
You were talking about the ability to regulate this and that it is regulated by ANSI.
Yep.
So do you have...
I do have the fixed grip rules in front of me. 4.3.1, general and personnel safety. I think an individual over there alluded to this earlier, but didn't have the precise wording. Operation and maintenance of aerial lift equipment can be dangerous to personnel performing these tasks. Procedures for performing these functions shall require precautionary measures necessary to reduce the risks for the personnel involved. Implementation of the procedures intended for the protection of the public and operating and maintenance personnel shall be the responsibility of the owner, supervisor, and the individual worker. That does not necessarily mean the board has no say over that, because most states don't have a tramway board involved. For instance, Montana had that serious incident last year. They don't have a tramway board regulating anything. That was strictly on the ski resort to self-regulate, and the Forest Service to an extent, but they're not quite equipped with that. All these concerns, safety concerns, triggered a complaint with OSHA, but they really don't have any adequate rules that address what's pretty unique to a ski resort. You're out in the cold, you're operating a very bizarre piece of equipment, to be perfectly honest. So the response was pretty lackluster. They said, and I'm not going to read this right into this because there's been some debate with our safety manager over this. This is their response to VOSHA. This is in the narrative regarding a complaint I filed last year. Documentation containing accurate and concise info about the employer website. During the walk-around portion, Inspector O'Grady, interview, blah, blah, blah. Is there a warm-up plan in place and how is it executed? Yes, either rotate with a coworker, slow down the lift to go inside, or call for an unscheduled break. They said to VOSHA last year that we could simply go into the shack at the fixed grip lift and hit the slow button to load the public from inside the shack. And currently, that seems to be debated as team leads and our safety manager are saying, no, you actually can only go inside the shack if you're alone, if there's no members of the public waiting to load. So that's kind of interesting because it contradicts what was told to VOSHA. And there's just no checking on this to see if what's being told to VOSHA is actually true. I honestly don't feel that's a very safe situation to just hit the slow button, because at most of the lift shacks there's a pretty large blind spot with the column of the lift where I can't see that section of the gate to know if there's even anyone standing there.
Well, I would add, as a rider, if you're hitting the slow button to just leave the lift going slow, that means I'm on the lift a lot longer, and it's cold enough for you to.
If it's like 20 below zero out there, I mean, you don't want to be on the lift for a half hour riding up that.
Yeah,
understand that issue for sure.
I mean, you go to Sachem when it's running on slow. If you can avoid it.
So you have submitted this to ANSI?
As well, yep.
Yeah, so
But-
it'll go through the ANSI process, so what are you hoping to get from
Well, the state has the authority to adopt rules without involving ANSI. And I would like to see the board adopt this individually as a state. And I know some individuals in
into
the,
our rules, into our addendum? I'm not sure what the process is for that. Like, are you talking about like into our addendum to ANSI, or are you talking about?
that could be a good place for it, because until it's adopted by ANSI, if it is, it would be a separate rule unto itself, to a point.
If I look at all of that, first ANSI probably won't, you're just submitting this now. They're
Yeah.
really far along in the next edition of it.
I was told to expect probably 5 years at least.
Okay, that makes sense. We have rules and addendum, it's all one thing now, we don't differentiate it. That's only updated every 5 years following the next edition of the ANSI standards. So we wouldn't have a rule on this if we chose to make a rule until, when's the next ANSI coming?
28.
Because the next ANSI comes out in 27.
Yeah.
We generally take a year before we
Yeah.
approve it.
So that's the earliest that we could have a formal rule. You cited to, let's see if I can find our rule again, you cited to.
It would be nice though, like, I mean, I know it won't go in the ANSI, but there's 100 people on the ANSI board from every background, a lot of operators and everything, to hear some of their opinions during our meetings. We have another meeting in May. I assume I'll probably go in by then, just to hear other opinions in the industry and how they're feeling about it, authorities.
Well, it's got to go through the board first.
Yeah, I was just going to
Well,
add.
it has to go to the NTSB.
Before
We haven't seen it on the NTSB.
Yeah, so
I'm sure it'll be referred to committee.
Yeah.
And maybe it won't be by May. I'm not really sure of that whole process. I'll be kind of curious to see other thoughts.
I'm wondering, Mike, do you see this stuff happening when you go to lifts? Are you seeing lift attendants left alone?
It's been, because we've been so cold this year, it's been actually pretty good because we have a lot of internationals. So, we've already had complaints with the cold. They're coming from 110 degrees, and so. But what we've all been interviewing different lift attendants from all walks of life, and it seemed to be rotating pretty good. They're provided all the clothing they ever wanted. To take them shopping and everything else. So
I would like to add something to that, because the issue this year, they instituted having 2 at the bottom on the weekends and holidays. But Monday through Friday, it's generally 1 person. Monday
I can't hear you clearly.
Okay.
If the mic got moved or something.
Okay, I apologize. What I was trying to say was, this season, at least where I am working, they have been putting 2 at the bottoms of the lifts on the weekends and holidays fairly consistently. Monday through Friday, they schedule 1. Monday and Friday, they usually have extra people they can put around to have 2. But Tuesday through Thursday, we are running with 1 person. And in actuality, I mean, I was very close to hypothermia on Thursday. Because I was there about 4 hours and 2 degrees. And I had 4 coats on, my snow pants, insulated fleece pants, base layer, mask, goggles on. It was pretty ugly. I mean, it was too steady at the lift to go in the shack. I went in the shack maybe 1 minute at a time, at the very longest. Because it was just too steady. Like I said, I don't feel comfortable just hitting a slow and I can't see the guest at the gate. And I also came close to frostbite last Sunday. I had 2 people, but I had to cover outside while the top operator did a lunch break. And he dragged his feet for about an hour and a half, so that was pretty ugly. Last week, they had pretty consistently, Tuesday through Thursday, one person at the lift through all that cold weather midweek. So there were some definite issues there. It's very much, they're going to open what they want on the schedule, regardless of safety. That's just how it's going. You know, I've suggested, you know, they can cancel like the secondary lifts and shuffle those people around, but there doesn't seem to be a willingness to actually do that.
Scott, are you there still? Scott?
Yes, I am.
Can you?
Yep.
So are you seeing single operators up at Stowe?
No.
Okay.
So nothing's going to be decided in this room. So just to level set with us and having about 10 minutes left of our room that's been graciously given to us with the conference going on out there. Casey, I want to thank you for sharing this with us and for typing it up. You definitely outlined very clearly and directly what your concerns are and what your asks are here, both verbally and in writing, which will be reflected in the record. I think the thing that the board will need to discuss at the next meeting is that, again, like we said, this is going through, and you know this, we've referenced this already, it's going through a national process, and you petitioned there as well. We typically, and Tom, you just said too, right, we normally do our addendum after the AMC national rules are in place. So if there's other comprehensive updates we need to make, whether or not we would want this to be included. It is an onerous process if we were going to open it up for rulemaking prior, you know, in the next year and then do it again in the second year. So that's something that the board will have to contemplate from a capacity perspective as well. I don't know if any other board members have any questions or feedback or reactions, but again, you've laid out a really thorough case and perspective on this, and I appreciate that you came here to share it with us.
Yep, thank you for giving me your time.
I'd like to just kind of wrap up my thoughts. When I read this, I made a list of the issues. Warming up on cold days, which is a safety issue. Repetitive motion is a safety.
Put the mic closer
I'm
to
sorry.
yourself.
I'll project right to you. I'm sorry. Thanks for calling me
Well,
out.
I just can't hear you, so.
Yep, thanks for calling me out on that. Safety issues that I noted when I read this: warming up on cold days, repetitive motion, accident support, 2 sets of eyes on the guests, distraction and complacency. So I think it's a legitimate safety concern to have one operator on a fixed grip all day long on a consistent basis. I don't think there's anything that we can do as a board now. We can certainly address it when we do rulemaking if it comes to that. I think I would ask that the inspectors pay particular attention to fixed grip and the number of operators that are there. And if they're noticing single operators, let us know about that, and then we'll have a better sense of what's going on out in the field.
Yeah, we can do that.
Does that make sense? Casey, does that sound like a good start for you?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously did not expect something to be passed when I showed up here.
Yeah, we can't.
I understand there's a lengthy process to everything.
It's not just that we want it to be a lengthy process, we just have a structure.
Well, the legislature makes it lengthy.
No comment on the legislature and current regulatory body.
Yeah, the last time we did rulemaking, it was about a $3,000 or $4,000 process, and it took a year. So that's why I don't want to do it separately. Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's no other business. We will wrap up for today. Thank you for everybody that was able to make the trip. Thank you, Scott, for zooming in here. I hope those of you that have been participating in the events here, that's all going smoothly and you continue to enjoy it. When does this wrap up? The larger conference?
Tomorrow.
And trade show. Tomorrow? That's pretty short. Okay. Good. Well, I hope the rest of it goes smoothly, and thank you so much to Killington for hosting us. Appreciate it very much. All right. We will reconvene again May 28th at 2 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're going to want to unplug all those things?
Get out of the meeting.
Thanks, John.
Good to see you.
There's a draft there.
There is.
I was sending a narrative of that piece of really.
Perfect, thank you. I apologize for being off.
It actually felt good. The room was so warm.
Yeah, this room gets
I know,
really
I
stuffy.
mean.
Yeah.
It gets too nerdy.
The other variables come into play, you know?
We'll make it.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know which of them.
And I'm thinking